Live struggle legacy. It's a whole movement.
Hey everybody, it's your boy MP, Live Struggle Legacy, and welcome to episode 12 of the Live Struggle Legacy podcast. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, hit that notification button, drop a comment, like, share, get active in the comment section, y'all. I love to keep these conversations going in the comment section. I appreciate all the love and support we've been getting. The last episode, now if you haven't already done so, you might want to listen to the previous episodes because we're right in the middle of a story. 12 episodes in today. I left off at I was telling you how I was in the hole, right? And I was getting ready to go to the camp when I came out. Now, one thing I want to touch on, because I was kind of starting to sound like a crazy person. I'm pretty sure I told you they had me on psych watch because I had scabies. And so I know a lot of people might be like, man, how could you have scabies for that long? You said they treated you. And I started to touch on this, but I didn't complete the thought. Now, I don't want to get back into this really disgusting shit because it is disgusting and it's not flattering at all for me to be sitting there telling you about this about myself on this podcast. But the reason I kept going through it, and it was an ongoing process, and they were thinking that I was crazy as I did my little research. And it's not like I had Google. I had people researching for me, right? And the way that these little creature monsters work is they lay eggs in your skin, and there's a 2-week incubation period, right? So what was happening is these eggs would hatch, and then I would be all fucked up, itchy, and then I would treat it. But the permethrin would not kill the eggs that were still in me incubating. That's how badly I was infected with this shit. Okay, and they thought I was crazy because you could hardly see it. But they actually dig tunnels in your skin, so if you could feel my skin, you could actually feel Ray's skin where they were digging tunnels. And with the exception of the scratching, there wasn't a whole lot to see. And not that they give a fuck. They got a whole holding tank full of people they're trying to see, so they're not trying to spend a lot of time examining you. They did biopsies on me, and if you've ever had a biopsy, and I actually had to put paperwork on them in order to do that. I didn't know the name of the test to take. There's actually not even a biopsy. It's some other test. It's called a scratch test, and they acted like they didn't know. You have to tell them exactly what to do. Okay, so I put paperwork on them to biopsy because I thought that could determine what was going on and they could get me help. And this is right before they put me in the hole. And they lost the biopsies. They poked holes all around my body in real sensitive places. And I cannot begin to explain how painful that was because I didn't have any anesthetic. I'm catching hell in Yazoo City, man. And they lost the biopsy. So I put paperwork on them for that. And that's when they got sick of my shit. And they put me in the hole. They put me on psych watch. They tried to put me on psych meds. But through my paperwork, then they had me in the hole for 6 weeks. So I did one treatment of the permethrin, and then they had me wait 2 weeks, and then I did another treatment after so I could catch the eggs that had been incubating to get the second batch. I cannot begin to explain what an awful experience this is. I mean, use your imagination, right? So, enough of that. Now, the last time I ever saw my bro Tim, Big Baby, right? I told you in the introduction about how I was helping my big homie get in shape before he went home. He was getting on the tail end of his bid. I was getting on the tail end of my bid. And so we would be working out in the on the rec yard, and we were doing like some medicine ball work with legs. I'm showing them how to do like compound movements that incorporate upper body, lower body, and core. And that's when he started to tell me about the leg pain. And honestly, like, I'm sure I saw him since then, but this one memorable moment that was really the last time I remember my big homie, and that was when we were out on the rec yard. He was talking about how he was trying to get a transfer to Miami FDC, which is where he ended up passing away later. But he wrote his mom's name and number on a little piece of paper when we were on the rec yard doing the medicine ball work, and that's the last memory I have of my big homie. So rest in peace, big homie. And I can feel your energy with me right now, keeping this podcast going, keeping this podcast alive. So just remember, that's why we're all here. We're in the spirit of my big homie. I'm telling my story, and we're creating this platform for other people to eventually tell yours or tell theirs, right? So big ups to my bro. Much respect to my bro. We will never forget you. We're going to keep this legacy going because I know this was what you would want. So that was the end of the Yazoo City Low. Right now, I told you that when I got my disciplinary, they put me outside of the custody level that I was supposed to be at, even though I had a minor shot, a 300 series. That's a really low level shot. It doesn't carry custody points. Because she was out to get me, the warden put something called a management variable on me, and it lasts 2 years. So my 2 years was up at the low. So now I go back to my case manager. They do something called team. They calculate your points, and then they reconfigure your custody level. So they see I was way below camp status. They said, okay, so, and of course I'm trying to get to Florida. They don't really care what you want. You can request. They don't care. They did another in-house transfer. They sent me to the Yazoo City camp. Now the Yazoo City camp still had a fence around it. So it wasn't like the last camp I was at. I mean, there's still a lot of freedom. Convicts are driving cars. I think I told you about that at the other camp, and but this camp was brand new. That's one thing I could say. It was so new. The beds weren't even full yet, and this was my first time being in a spot that didn't have, overfilled beds. Right? This place actually still had open beds. The whole half of the unit was barely even built yet. So it was kind of cool to be at this new spot where everything is brand new. Everything, the showers and bigger, much bigger than the other camp. Nicer facilities, big, nice rec yard, quarter-mile track, still no pull-up bar, push-up bar, none of that. We used to do the pull-ups in the shower, and I used to do the dips on the tables in the microwave room. So the camp, just like the camp in Carolina, it had 2 microwave rooms, maybe 3. And then now finally I got washers and dryers again, because at the low, your clothes get washed with everybody else. All the jack off guys, everything else. It's disgusting. So now I'm back at a camp. I got a washer and dryer. Everything's brand new. And what I didn't tell you is when I was at the low, I was working in recreation. I got a job in recreation, and I got a job teaching the NFPT class. NFPT is National Federation of Professional Trainers. So, and I got a lot of respect for the NFPT because I actually tried to get on with a company called NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine, right? That was kind of the more popular one. Well, fuck NASM. I want to look right in this camera if anybody's from NASM. Fuck NASM. I'm going to tell you why. Because I tried to get accredited as a trainer while incarcerated, and they denied me and said that they do not certify felons. So fuck them. Now, I got so much love and respect for NFPT, first of all, because they did certify felons, but not only that. Now, mind you, when I was in the low, I had already been certified through the National Federation of Professional Trainers for like 2 years, maybe I think going on 3 years, right? And so when I got, in cahoots with other people that were teaching classes, this one dude, we called him Flow Rider. He was from Fort Lauderdale. He taught a spin class, and he asked me to cover his spin class while he left, right? He ended up leaving, so he asked me to take over until they could find somebody else. So that was kind of my in the recreation department. But in the process of doing that, I was able to prove, look, I'm a trainer, I'm accredited, these are my credentials, and so I didn't teach spin very long because I'm not a big fan of spin, frankly. But not that it's not a good workout, it's just not for me. Look at me, I don't need to lose weight, I don't need to do a bunch of cardio. I do to stay healthy, but I'll disappear, right? Spin will make me disappear. So I got an in through the head of the recreation department. I can't remember the lady's name, but she was super cool. She was real pretty too. And she allowed me to teach the NFPT course to help other convicts get accredited through the NFPT. And then she also had me teaching the NFPT nutrition class because I was also nutrition certified through that same accrediting group, right? And where I really got a lot of love and appreciation for NFPT, the CEO, I can't remember his name, it was like Ron something or other. He actually came to Yazoo City, and through this big seminar, they actually used to throw health fairs in there. They had a great recreation department in Yazoo City, and a lot of it was because of this woman. And what was beautiful about it, she kind of gave us the reins. She let us do what we wanted to do, and she used the Fed funding to actually put us in a position to help people, which is pretty solid because that's super rare in these spots. So I was teaching the nutrition class, I was teaching the NFPT class, and then they had the dude come, the CEO of the National Federation of Professional Trainers, come and talk to us all and talked about how he believed in second chances. And I mean, that's a beautiful thing, y'all. That's rare, because if you know people that are convicted felons, or you yourself are a convicted felon, you know how hard it is to find opportunities. You have a stigma on you. So it's pretty solid to see people who are not from that same background, yet they have empathy and want to help people and give people second chances. So big up to the CEO, Ron. Now I'm at the camp. All right, my last spot. I'm on the final stretch of my bid. And I got a job right away in recreation, teaching a yoga class, teaching the NFPT class, teaching the nutrition class, but basically just being an orderly. And it was pretty solid because they had this room where you could rent out guitars, and that was my job. I had access to that room, and then medicine balls, and you just come in and check them out, and I just take your ID, and then you get the medicine ball or you get the guitar. And what was pretty amazing about that for me is that was like my little office. I had this big desk, and there was a TV in there. I didn't even watch it. I kept the TV off. I used to let other people come in there and watch it or whatever. But there was this big space. And now I'm on the tail end of my bid. I'm working out like three times a day. I'm doing my yoga early in the morning. I'm doing my strength training. Actually, I used to do my strength training like right after the 5 a.m. count, because I knew the guards wouldn't be watching me because you're not allowed to do upper body. So they'd go run the count up. I do my pull-ups and my dips like 3 days a week. And then I would go to my job, and at my job, I would do my yoga sequencing. And if somebody would come in for a medicine ball or the guitar, I'd just be like, yo, just sign it out. You know, like, yeah, I wouldn't have to stop what I'm doing. And what was pretty cool about having that space was I also was on my penmanship. You know, I'm really writing. I'm got my pen game up, and I had that kind of quiet space. Like everywhere is so loud, and it would be so quiet in there. You know, I would right after breakfast, I'd hit the work move, and now there's no controlled movement at the camp. You move freely, but they would call everybody to work, and I would go in when they called everybody to work. And I just had my own little space, and I can't tell you how valuable that was. And it took like my whole bid, damn near 8 years, to finally have that. And I was doing these little like challenges. I do like 30 verses in 30 days, and a lot of songs that you might have heard me drop to this day, and songs that I will be dropping in the future, they stem from this 30 verses in 30 days kind of challenge that I gave myself to just kind of sharpen up my pen game, you know. So I'm really on the personal development, the personal growth in this spot. And if you remember in the last episode, I told you about one of my homies. I'll just call him Brain. Right now this is my bro. He will be on the podcast. So Brain, he's a Haitian from Tampa, from Nucio. So shout out Nucio. And I don't want to tell too much about him. I want him to be able to come on here and speak for himself. But I will tell you that I met him in Citrus County, right? The same place where I really connected with Big Baby. And him and I used to work out, and we used to share books, and we were of like minds. He was into music. I was into music. He was also, you know, into spirituality. We would have these really in-depth conversations. And so we got super cool. And then, of course, we got designated. Well, I didn't see this man for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and he had a low cut. And I remember seeing this dude. They were like, hey, yo, it's a Zoe from Florida. So remember when I told you, whenever somebody from your town comes to a spot, especially you're out of state, you want to see about that person. You want to see, who is this person? Who do you know? You know, whatever. Where'd you come from? Did you seen any of the homies? Whatever. So they're like, yo, it's a Zoe from Tampa on the yard. So right away I look and I see him. I'm like, damn, that looks like my dog. But I remember he had a low cut. Now he's got these long ass, thick ass dreads. So finally I see him. I'm like, yo, Bruss. I call him Bruss. Or Brain. I call him a lot of different things. You know how we do. But so, you know, we start talking, and he kind of had the same thing popping that I had popping in terms of the music. I think he had come over from Jessup, Georgia, and he was doing his thing with the music in Jessup, Georgia, and he ended up getting a band room, right, in Yazoo City, Low, right. So, we had the day with Big Baby, and then we had the day with Brain. I'll just call him Brain. Okay, well, his rap name. Stage name is Infinite, so we'll call him Inf, right? So Inf had a band slot, and Big Baby had a band slot, right? So we kind of had the band room on lock in terms of the hip hop, right? And the island music. We weren't just doing hip hop; we were doing island music. We had, you know, people from Haiti, people from the Caribbean. Pretty solid thing. So you already know this though. So now I go to the camp, and Inf is at the camp with me. So we're chopping it up at the camp. He's getting on the tail end of his bid too. And then my other bro from Pensacola was at the camp, and we call him Sneaky. That's his name too. That's his stage name too. So you check out his music on YouTube, Spotify. My dog doing his thing with trucking and diesel mechanic services right now. But hopefully y'all can help bring my dog out of retirement, dust off the microphone, and put him on this podcast, put him on a couple tracks, right? So we're all at this camp together, lots of homies. Now, I told you when I was in Carolina that everybody had a cell phone. I kind of over-exaggerated. Not everybody. People did, though. You know, it was just new to me. It seemed like everybody did because you didn't see that in the medium. But, man, when I tell you at Yazoo City Low, everybody had a cell phone. Everybody was into something. And the big difference now, just like I told you there was unity in the Low, the camp had super unity. Like, it's funny, like we used to call the police Scott. So whenever the police were coming, somebody would yell, Scott, Scott, and everybody knows to get right. Now that unity was not there in Williamsburg, South Carolina camp. Matter of fact, there was some serious crabs there, like in the sense where they might see the police coming and just out of spite not say nothing. Knowing they got all kinds of shit going on too, knowing they would want somebody to let them know, but just because they're spiteful on some hating ass shit, they wouldn't tell you. They'll let you get knocked off, right? But not at Yazoo City. At Yazoo City, well, plus almost every single one of us in Yazoo City camp came from the Low and already knew each other. And I'm talking about people from Alabama, people from Mississippi, people from Memphis, people from Florida. There was a lot of unity. And even like with the race shit, with the there ain't no more gang shit, like everybody's on the same page in Yazoo City, right? So it was actually a nice little end to my bid after all the bullshit I had been through. So no more of the itchy bullshit. I finally got my mind right and getting ready to get home, right? So, man, this is a wrap on my prison experience. I'm trying to think of something I missed out about the camp, but that was it. I was in the best shape of my life. I'm getting ready to go home. I was going to all the job fairs. You know, now what I didn't tell you is I sent out resumes, right? I sent out resumes. I had people in Colorado. I sent resumes to people in Colorado. I had people in the Atlanta. I sent resumes to Atlanta. I had people in upstate New York, where my dad's family's from, in Schenectady. I don't know if I said that in the previous podcast, but Schenectady, right outside of Albany. I sent resumes out there, and then Cali. I even sent resumes out to Cali. And so, you know, people always tell you, you can't go back to work. You know, you caught your case. You got to start fresh. It's a trap. You're going to get caught back up. And my thing was, listen, wherever I have opportunity, that's where I'm going. Now, I did have a job lined up in St. Pete, but right before, it was a gym owner. It was a dude that actually employed my sister, gave me my first gym membership. Real good dude named Tony. Shout out to Tony if you're watching this. I ain't going to put your full name out. You might not want me to. But he was going to offer me opportunity. sadly, right before I got locked up, I guess he had a bad business deal with his gym partner, and it fell through. So he got into, I believe, selling insurance. He wasn't even in fitness anymore, and so that opportunity fell through. So now I'm back to square one, and I know the one place I have to go is my dad's house, right back in St. Pete, the same house that I grew up in when we moved from Arizona, the same house I did all my shenanigans in growing up, and the same house my dad came home to when he came from prison, right? So, everybody says you can't go back to the place you came from, but I looked at it different, y'all. I looked at it like, if I can't do right where I got caught up in all my shit, and I can't get my life together, who is to say I'm going to make it anywhere? Because everywhere you go, they have everything. And it's about the energy that you put out and what you're trying to attract in your life. And I had been working so hard on, this resume and planning for my release, planning to have a trade so that I don't have to fall back to the streets. I don't have to ask for handouts, right? As I told you, I had been certified. I had been teaching all these classes. I had this resume. So now when you go home, you get two options. They either get you a bus ticket, and then you furlough and you catch the Greyhound back to your hometown. For my case, it would have been all the way from Mississippi down to Tampa, Florida. I went to the halfway house right down Hillsborough Avenue. It was the Goodwill right here in Tampa. That was my halfway house for my district, right? So I could have either caught the Greyhound or furloughed out. Well, I chose to furlough out. So my mom, my dad, and my sister all drove out to Mississippi, and this is the best feeling I could possibly give you, short of being a parent, right? To see the people that I love the most in this world, my immediate family, pull up to this terrible ass place, but with the biggest smiles you ever saw, and take me the fuck out of there, y'all. I remember, this is a funny thing, because there was this one dude that had been down like 20 years from Orlando, and there were a couple other people. We all were going home at the same time. So again, they put you, even though you're going home, they still have you in a holding tank. You're still in a locked tank. Even though I was just at the camp, they still have you in this locked tank. But your people can send you street clothes, whatever you want. They send it to you, but they have to send it in advance. And if you don't have people to send you clothes, then you get the donated stuff. And, that's not necessarily a good look. But if that's all you got, it's a blessing to have something to wear, right? But it was funny because all of us had been locked up for a while, and things changed. Let me tell y'all something, man. When I was doing my thing in the streets, skinny jeans were not cool. They were not cool, man. You did not wear no skinny jeans. And so my big homie Tim, that had done like 20 years from Orlando, he has kids that were damn near grown. He's an older dude. And so his kids picked his clothes, and they put him in this, and it wasn't that tight, but man, Tim was kind of dark-skinned dude, but I swear he was blushing and had pink cheeks when they put him in those skinny. And they were form-fitting. They weren't even skinny jeans. I was like, come on, bro, those aren't the real skinny jeans. And it was a form-fitting shirt. It was showing a little bit. It was a little bit raised up on the arm. And I'm trying to make him feel good about it because he's embarrassed. I'm like, bro, you look good, bro. You're showing your guns, bro. You're showing your form. You're showing your figure. You look healthy. You look good, man. You should be proud. Man, he was so embarrassed to go out there in that world with actual form fitting. And my goofy ass, of course, I have my people send me Relax Fit, which is, I'm used to wearing shit 3 times too big for me. That was the style. We wore t-shirts that we called them Bin Laden's. Like when I was this skinny, scrawny dude, I'm wearing 3Xs and look like a nightgown, right? Well, I thought I did a little better than that, with Relax Fitting. But it's funny because the younger dudes who were coming home, and they already been out in the streets, and they already know how people are dressing and what they're wearing out there. They're clowning me. They're like, man, you can't be wearing all that big ass shit, OG. Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't feel like the OG. I feel young. I think I left prison when I want to say like 31. I mean, in my mind, that's young. But But that's just a small detail, right? The big thing is my people picked me up, and we drove home. It was the most beautiful feeling to be with my family. My sister made this playlist of all these songs from when we were kids, and all these songs she wanted to hear, all the music that I missed, and you know it's crazy. Like when you sit here in prison, and we would talk about and like fantasize about free world food. Now I've never been a fast food person, but we used to sit in that TV room and watch these commercials and see like burritos from Taco Bell and like this new sandwich from Wendy's and like these things that they make on TV look amazing. So it's like that my family did bring me some food. They brought me some stuff from Mazzaro's. They know I love Mazzaro's. You know, if you're from the Burg, you know the Italian deli is pretty legit. And you know, all the things they brought me. And of course I was loving all that, eating all that up, but on the way back, it was like I don't know how many hours it was driving from Mississippi to Tampa, but I was like, yo, I'm not gonna lie, I want to go to Wendy's. First free world restaurant food, and I got some stupid ass chicken sandwich that looked amazing on TV. I ate it. It was so underwhelming, but I cannot tell you how sick it made me. Now you gotta remember, I was eating prison food, and yeah, it's a lot of processed shit from the commissary, but by my last year, I'm not eating none of that processed food. I'm eating like beans and rice. I'm eating oatmeal every day. I'm getting my oatmeal. I'm stealing my oatmeal from the kitchen, so it's real oatmeal. It's not processed quick oats. You know what I mean? Like it was real bags of rolled oats. And so like I'm pretty healthy. My body did not know what to do with all that grease. My body did not know what to do with all that fast food. And it's funny because I remember like early in my bid hearing other people talk about eating street food and how it fucks you up and, you know, be careful. And I thought, man, I'm healthy. My stomach, this shit is going to run through me. It ran through me. All right. I barely made it to the halfway house. So now you get to the halfway house and these motherfuckers that work at the halfway house, I mean, I don't mean to disrespect anybody, people, if you got a family member that work at the halfway house or something, but in this particular halfway house, these are the biggest fucking degenerates you ever seen in your fucking life. And they have full, total control of your life. Like full, total control. So now I'm at the halfway house dealing with these fucking degenerates. These motherfuckers should be locked up. Seriously, no joke. Like, and then when you go into the halfway house, it's basically like you're in a unit, but now you got vending machines. You're allowed to have money. You're wearing free world clothes. And now you got to remember, I was gone for 8 years, so my license expired. I had to get a license again. And before I could do anything, what they do is they give you job release pass, right? When you're living at the halfway house. And just to be crystal clear about something, when you're at the halfway house, you are still an inmate. You are still under the custody of the BOP. You still have a number, right? You no longer have a name. You have a number the whole time you're in the BOP, right? And so that number, it's still you're still an inmate. If you look up a person on the BOP website, they're in the halfway house, it still shows them as being in the custody of the BOP, but they give you this little taste of freedom. So a big part of that taste of freedom, which was pretty incredible, having been locked up that long, even being at a camp, was the job search passes. I have never in my life been so excited to jump on a city bus. We could get the bus passes from the cops. Right, they weren't real cops. They called them techs. I'm telling you, they were just degenerate babysitters, right? That were always trying to catch us wrong. And the funny thing is, like the motherfuckers that were really doing dirt, they were so dumb. They were oblivious. They fall for all the manipulation and the finessing. But if you were like a good person, like doing the right thing, and not to say people out there, you know, doing their thing. I'm not trying to say they were bad people. People are doing what they got to do to eat, right? But if you were like trying to do the right thing and trying to stay out of trouble and all that, man, they would give you the hardest time. While the motherfuckers bringing in the pack and doing all this shit, walk right by them, give them a little, hey, you know, they might give them a handshake, and it's like, I mean, it was like they were there to make your life absolutely miserable, right? But this is what we have to go through to get bus passes. This is what we have to go through to get forms. And I mean, the biggest chip on your shoulder. I mean, and every single one of them, I can't think of a single one that was cool. Every single one of them was an asshole. It's like a prerequisite to work at the halfway house. You got to be a degenerate asshole with no respect. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not gonna lie, people would go back to prison because you got these people that they were down from the penitentiary and they didn't take shit from anybody. You think they're gonna take shit from these bitch ass techs? You know what I mean? Next thing you know, there's such a thing as hitting the deuces. They have body alarms at the halfway house. Motherfucking sheriff's coming, and I saw it. A motherfucker get on one of their ass. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I mean they get what they had coming. But anyway, you get the bus pass. And now you get that freedom. They give you a window. Okay, you have from this time to this time. And mind you, I didn't even have an ankle monitor yet. So my very first pass I got was to be able to get my license. So my dad comes, he picks me up, he takes me to the DMV. We hang out at the DMV for a minute. I go and get my license. I haven't had a driver's license in 8 years. I haven't driven in a car in 8 years. Right, I driven a forklift. Right, I told you at the camp I was driving a forklift, and I was driving a high lift and shit like that. But I had not driven a car in 8 years, and so I get my license, and then my first job pass. Now I don't have an ankle monitor, but let me tell you how they set you up for failure. Right, rehabilitation, my ass. This system is so designed to bring you back. Now, you know that the feds, and I'm pretty sure the state too, has more than an 80% recidivism rate. If you're not familiar with that term, that means your chances of going back to prison. More than 80% of people that have been locked up get locked up again. More than 80%. So if you have been to prison and you ain't been locked up, bro, I got so much love and respect for you, homie. I feel your pain because it ain't hard to get locked back up, and they make it so hard for you to get a job. So here's how your job search pass works. They give you a piece of paper. The first thing you have to do when you go to apply for the job is you have to see the manager and you have to disclose to them, I am an inmate and I'm living at a halfway house. And if you don't tell them, the paper says it. So you look at the paper and basically the paper says, I am an inmate. I am in the custody of the Bureau of Prisons. I am living at a halfway house. And then you need to have them sign it with a phone number, a time, and a date so that these fucking ridiculous ass degenerate techs can call them with their bitch ass attitude and confirm that you were actually where you said you had to be. So now put yourself in the mind of an employer. Okay, you got this dude walks in, got tattoos and shit, all buff. Can tell you know, when you get out of prison, you got penitentiary written all over you. You smell like the penitentiary, man. You look like the penitentiary. You smell like the penitentiary. You motherfucker can see this from a mile away. And then I don't care how good your talk game is. I don't care how good your resume is. Right? I don't care how well dressed and prepared you are. As soon as you give them that piece of paper, man, it's over with, man. It's over with. They look at that. They say, oh, yeah, we'll get back to you. My ass. The only place that was employing people that I can recall, unless you had like a family member or a friend, and then here's the crazy part. They won't let you work for family members. There were rare instances where you could, but the rule of thumb was you could not work for family members. Right? So how in the fuck am I supposed to get a job? I got to go out here and I got to tell you I've been locked up. I am an inmate. Right? And you're just supposed to give me a job, right? So I told you in the introduction episode, 100 job applications. You think I'm joking? 100 job applications. And I got a solid resume. Soon as you show them that piece of paper, I remember I went into, what was it? I think it was a UFit or an LA Fitness. They were loving me. They see that I'm making eye contact. I got the firm handshake. I'm talking the talk. I can tell I can teach this, and this. And like, I don't even care about the money. I ain't worry, you know what I mean? Like at this point, and I'm not telling them that. Like I'm just trying to get my foot in the door. And everything goes good. They're like, oh yeah, we need somebody like you on the team. And of course, I wait until the very end. Okay, now I just need to tell you, I am living at a halfway house, and I do need you to sign this piece of paper that says that I was where I said I was. Man, you never saw anything go so south so fast. Like, instantly, they start getting all nervous, the shaky-eyed. They don't look you in the eye anymore. You went from a firm handshake, now they're giving you the limp dick, cold fish handshake with no eye contact. Because you know they're not about to hire you, man. I can't tell you how many times I had this experience. Time and time and time again. application after application. But you can go work for the bakery. There's a bakery right down the street from the halfway house on Hillsborough. And they want a bunch of convicts because they don't care. I don't want to call it slave labor, but it's like minimum low wages. It's a terrible ass job. It's like damn near sweatshop kind of work. I mean, it's an opportunity, but I wasn't going for it, man. I got a resume. I'm ready. I know what I want. But I was willing to take my chances at like Burger King. I was trying to go to like certain places. They were denying me. Everywhere I went, they were denying me. So finally, I want to give a big shout out. I don't know if this person wants me to say their whole name, but I'm just gonna call him Jay. You know who you are. Much love and respect to my brother, Jay. We don't see eye to eye on everything, but brother, I love you. You provided me an opportunity when nobody else would. My partner, when I went away, had his share of adversity. I'll keep that under wraps. It doesn't need to be put out there, but he took his adversity and took my situation as inspiration to not follow, my footsteps and end up making the mistakes that I make. But he got into fiberglass insulation, and he went from like laboring to for $15 an hour to basically building like this big insulation empire, right? And so as soon as I got home, he was like, listen, man, I got a job for you. And I cannot thank this man enough. I mean, nothing but love and respect. He provided me with this opportunity, and it was pretty amazing. So I remember the first Whole Foods was not around when I left the street. And so now remember we're in Tampa, and so he took me on a job, a furlough. I got a job furlough. And he took me to South Tampa. And let me tell you something, man. When I left the streets, yoga pants were not a thing. They were not a thing. And now, I'm not one of them jack-off guys. I'm not one of them gunners. But I will tell you, I am a heterosexual male. And when you put me in that Whole Foods and I saw those yoga pants, man, I think I strained my neck. Yoga pants. And these pants, you can see dimples. Like, I'm not trying to be perverted. Please forgive me. I'm just telling you, I went from nothing but men and, to Whole Foods and yoga pants. And like, he was like, man, you need to control yourself. But I remember he knew too. He was like, he knew that when my bro knows me real well. He's my bro. We've been like best friends since we were 12 years old. And he's like, yeah, he's like, you ever seen yoga pants? I'm like, no, bro. No, I have not seen yoga pants. And I saw my shirt. This was a South Tampa location too. And if you know South Tampa, shit. Okay, enough of that. So that was a pretty great experience. And so, the biggest blessing that my bro could have possibly given me. Now we're working. He's putting me. I hated it. I used to cuss him out every day and tell him I was going to quit. Cause man, I'm climbing up on attics in the middle of the summer. Cause I went to the halfway house on May 5th. That's my freedom day, y'all. May 5th, and I wasn't completely released. That was my halfway house day. May 5th, I went to the halfway house and Cinco de Mayo. And so it was summertime when I got this installation gig. I didn't get the installation gig until I want to say like June or July. I sat on my ass at the halfway house for a couple minutes. I think it was like maybe July that I got the installation gig. So I'm crawling up in these what do you call them? Attics, man. But it was commercial. It wasn't residential, but still, these would be buildings with no air conditioning, middle of the summer, soaking wet, itching all over, doing duck rap. But I was grateful to do it, but I'd still cuss my bro. I'm like, man, this sucks. I don't know how you do this, bro. Because as soon as I get something better, I'm not gonna lie, I'm quitting. I'm quitting, bro. And I'm not gonna lie, he was in his feelings because he did turn that into like a major empire. Like, dude is massively successful, and I got so much respect for him for that, especially knowing that he came, from a similar background that I came from, but I'll tell you what, man, it was not for me. He wanted me to be like his right hand man, and I probably would have had a lot of success if I stuck with that, but that's not me, man. I got this journey. I got to do my fitness thing. I got to do what I set my vision to do. That's your thing. That's not my thing. But his thing, it paid him handsomely, and it provided an opportunity for me and a lot of other people, right? But where it was really amazing was I got my license now, so he made me like a foreman. And he gave me a truck. He ended up buying a new work truck, and he gave me his truck. So now I'm driving. I'm living in the halfway house, but I'm driving. And like it was just amazing. And we're doing gigs all over the place. Like, yeah, we're way out there in Tampa, but I'm doing gigs over the Skyway. I'm doing gigs in Lakeland. And I would have to get permission to go to these places. But let me tell you something that's real shitty about these techs and why I speak so poorly about them. The people that had control over my life in the halfway house, they would try to catch me wrong. Now, by the time I got that job, I now have an ankle monitor. And I was getting home visits too. Like I'd go get to spend a couple hours at home, and then they work you up from a couple hours to maybe a day, and then maybe 48 hours. You have to earn your freedom gradually, right? Because they want to make sure you're not going to run off. And when your thing buzzes, it would vibrate. When your thing buzzes, you have to stop what you're doing and call them immediately, right? So I might be at home, and these assholes, they can see where I'm at. There's a location. They see exactly where I'm at, but they just want to be assholes. They would buzz my ankle and call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and be like, Milo, UA, urine analysis, or a breathalyzer. So now I got to wake up my people at 3 o'clock in the morning and drive all the way from South St. Pete to fucking Hillsborough Avenue in Tampa to the halfway house to give a breathalyzer. And if I don't, guess what happens? The sheriff comes and gets me and they take me to the county jail. It's a violation of my conditions of house arrest, right? So now think about how they set you up for failure. Think about if my people didn't have a car. Or think about if my people are working the graveyard shift like so many people, right? So what do? You got to come give a UA. I can't tell you how many people got brought back from home confinement to the county jail, ended up having to go back through the house, through the halfway house. Some even having to go back and to prison and go back through transit and everything, all because they couldn't get a ride at 3 o'clock in the morning to give a UA or a breathalyzer, right? I mean, it's so fucking dirty and it's so set up to see you fail. Then you wonder why the recidivism rate is so high, because they're not helping you, they're hurting you. They make it, not only do they not help you, they hinder you in a way where you have to be like an exemplary human. You have to be like a super human. You have to be far above average just to get by when you make it out. And think about these people who have spent years and years in prison where they pamper you and they baby you and you get no work ethic because you're fed 3 meals a day. Think about what this does to them. And you wonder why this recidivism rate is so high, y'all. Like this prison, and I don't want to get too far off on a tangent, but I do want to tell you that it is industry and it is set up for you to come back, right? So I was blessed. Thank God for my people. Thank God for my family, my friends, my opportunities. One thing you will never hear me say is, oh, nobody ain't do shit for me when I came home. Listen, man, I'm blessed. A lot of people didn't have that, right? So I will say one more thing. Like I want to rewind a little bit. My first home visit that I got, actually it wasn't a home visit. My first job search, right? I tell you, my first furlough, my dad picked me up and took me to get my license. But my first job search pass, I went and searched jobs. Now I didn't have the ankle monitor yet. They weren't clocking me. And man, I love my daddy so much, right? So my pops picked me up. He had all the snacks for me. And he knew, like, I can't tell you how many times I sat there at the window like a lost puppy in Williamsburg, South Carolina, looking through these triple barbed wire, my very first spot, watching that sunset through the fall leaves. I'm seeing past the big metal beam that's in my face, right? The bars on the windows. I'm seeing past those triple barbed wire, that triple barbed wire fence. I'm seeing past that wood line. Let me tell you what I'm seeing in my mind's eye. I'm seeing Paso Grill Beach, where I grew up as a young child, right? The best memories of my life, where my dad used to throw parties when he was doing his thing, right? Before they took him away, right? I'm seeing that sunset, right? I'm seeing past all of that. And that was my meditation when I wasn't right, when I was about to get into a fight, when I was about to go off on a cop or whatever the case may be. I used to stand right there at that window, look through those bars, look through that barbed wire, look through that wood line, and I saw Paso Grill Beach, sunset, dropping down into that water in my mind's eye. I didn't even tell my dad that. But on my very first job search pass, my pops picked me up. They had redid the whole new Bayway Bridge. He didn't tell me where he was going. He was just like, listen, man, we're going. And he went he went past all the jobs. I was like, hey, I thought he's like, man, just chill. So he took me over the new Bayway. I hadn't seen it. It was amazing. It's taller. It's brighter. I see the Don Cesar where I used to wreak havoc as a young child, running around stealing chrome caps off of cars, right? I see the beach over here. I see the beach over there. He takes me all the way to Paso Grill Beach, and he says, now go smell that saltwater air and go put your feet in the sand. I get out the car. I walk out there. I'm not going to lie, y'all, I got tears in my eyes. I put my feet in the sand. I touch the sand. I touch the salt water. I smell the air. He's like, all right. He's like, we got one more thing to do. My pops knew my favorite meal. My favorite meal is called shrimp fra diablo with linguine, right? So it's like he's get these big Key West pink shrimps, and he cooks them so perfect. They're like lobsters. He slow cooks them in this spicy red sauce. And on top of that linguine with the locatelli Romano cheese on top. Listen, he had I forget what else he had, but he had a spread for me. He said, look, we gotta have lunch. Like, this is a part of your job search, right? So I ate that big meal, that pasta, those shrimp. They tasted like lobster, and I mean, I told you nobody could understand my experience out of all my friends and family like my pops. So I know he got a lot of criticism in these past episodes, but man, do I love that man with all my heart. He made my homecoming amazing. And then he took me to do all my job searches, and then he took me back to the halfway house, and then put up with all my shit when they finally did release me to home confinement, where he allowed me to stay in his place rent-free in this room, you know, and allowed me to stack up my money so that I could go get a place. And you talk about a blessing. People come home to nothing, right? The system ain't giving you shit. I'm blessed. If I didn't have all that, who knows? I might already be back. You know, I can't say what would happen, but I will say, if you are in that position ever, man, it don't hurt to ask for help, and don't have too much pride, man, because when you come home from a situation like that, you need help. You need it. And if you got somebody coming home from a situation like that, man, help that brother or sister out. And don't just take them to the strip club, man. Fuck that. Don't just bring them a bunch of liquor and shit. I mean, sure, you want to show a little love like that, whatever. But, man, the best thing you could do is give somebody a job. Give somebody an opportunity. Give somebody, show them how to fish, man. Don't just give them the fish. You know what I mean? I'll pick up on the next one, man. This is episode 12, Live Struggle Legacy. We are almost at an end of the first season, but I still got a couple more stories to tell y'all. So stay tuned. Episode 13, I'll tell you a little bit more about, you know, what it was like to transition from home confinement and finally getting my foot in the door in the fitness world. But make sure you hit the subscribe button, the like button, the notification button, drop comments, man, please. I can't tell you what that does for this podcast when you get active. So I appreciate all y'all checking in, man. This Live Struggle Legacy. We building pyramids.
Live Struggle Legacy. It's a whole movement.